Hello guys and welcome to volokinproject. This is Tony, your favorite YouTuber. In today's quick video I'm going to talk about the main 5 differences between the PlayStation Vita Slim and the old Phat version. So without further ado, let's get it on. So before I go into details in this video, guys, a brief history of what it is to buy a PlayStation Vita in 2020 and why I did so. Well, I was just getting bored during the lockdown and I decided to give myself a chance with the Phat version. And of course, after that I got the Slim version because I was super curious to see which one is better for me. Because it's one thing when you read over the internet and it's another thing when you try it for yourself. So what's the situation over here? Quite a lot of people bought them a few years ago and they realized they're just not using them, guys, because there are a bunch of games, most of them, you know, Japanese ones, not enough racing games. So you buy it, use it for a few months, and after that it sits in the drawer. Games are still quite expensive, between 10 and even 30 quid for some titles over here, guys. The other option, you've got to buy yourself a micro SD card and use one of those SD to Vita adapters, and of course hack your Vita to read downloaded games. That's the next best option pretty much that you have. No matter which way you go, the second-hand market is strong. About 100 quid is going to get you an excellent unit with the box and with all the accessories pretty much. So that's why I got them, guys, and I've noticed 5 main things between both of those consoles. In terms of in-hand feel, I definitely prefer the Phat version over here. Not only because it's fatter, but because it is heavier as well, guys. And that's, as people say it, a premium heft. It just gives you the feeling that you're getting something more premium in your hands, guys. As I said, it is 40 grams heavier, about 260 grams. This one is 220 grams, not too heavy for, a console that you're going to use with both of your hands. So in terms of design and build quality, I definitely prefer the Phat one. And the other thing that I prefer with the Phat one is the button travel over here on the L and R buttons over here. They're just a little bit more clicky and a little bit more nicer, guys. But in terms of durability, to be honest with you, the Slim version is the better option, because this nasty cheap feeling plastic over here, it is a little bit more durable, because you see the silver edges over here on the Phat version, they ding pretty badly, guys. And over here the plastic is rounded, so if you drop it, the damage is not going to be that obvious. But the thing is that the back cover of the Slim is way cheaper and all of them are super scratched up. That doesn't mean that you cannot put a screen protector on it, but it's just something to consider, guys. The other difference is the buttons. Check this out. Those buttons, select, start, and the power button over here, well, PlayStation button, or home button, whatever you want to call it, they're super nice and round on the Slim version. And over here on the Phat version, oh man, the shape is just terrible, guys. Especially those two little buttons. If you have any kind of regular size thumb, they're extremely hard to push over here. So that's one advantage of the Slim version, guys. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is the charging port. Quite a lot of people complain that, oh, the PlayStation Vita Phat, it has a dedicated, super rare, expensive cable, this and that. They might have been the case years ago, but now in 2020, this little cable over here costs just £2.50 on eBay, guys. So the charging brick contains of 3 things pretty much. This is, well, the lead to your socket. This is the charger. It looks fancy, but actually you can use any USB charger for that matter. And this is the cable over here, guys, the so-called special cable. Again, $2.50 on eBay. I understand it's not a micro USB cable, but the thing is that everybody moved to USB-C anyways. So for 5 quid you get 2 cables. You put one in your car, you put one at home, and you're pretty much sorted. Don't worry about this. But remember, instead of using the Sony's brick, you can use any kind of charger for that matter. Next up is the display technology, guys. Now with the PlayStation Vita Phat, the first version, they used pretty much kind of a first generation OLED screen, and it suffers from the so-called mirror effect, which means kind of, it's a little bit hard to explain, but on pure black backgrounds, if there's absolutely no light in the room, if it's completely dark, sometimes you're going to see some sort of, you know, shadowing on the screen, a little areas that are blacker than the rest of the screen. It's not that widespread, it doesn't get worse, but it's just, you know, the poor quality of the first generation OLED screens for that matter. On the Slim, they chipped out, they've put an LCD screen, and although at first glance it looks a little bit brighter, it actually isn't, guys, because I've used my application, a simple lux meter over here. I locked myself in the bottom in pitch black, and I've measured 153 maximum brightness on the Slim version versus 169 maximum brightness on the OLED version. Of course, the viewing angles are better on the OLED version as well. The colors are more punchy and the blacks are blacker, pretty much. The LCD screen, you know, if you hack your Slim, there are ways to increase the saturation, but that's pretty much it, guys, just the saturation. So in terms of screens, my choice is definitely the OLED screen, well, with the mirror effect. And lastly, the speakers. When I first heard the speakers of the Phat one, I was like, okay, the speakers are alright. And then I heard my Slim speakers and I was like, oof, man, that's that's a considerable difference in terms of the speakers, guys. And I'm gonna tell you what's the difference. In the Phat version, you can kind of have a sense of a little bit more bass in the tones, a little bit deeper tones, but the thing is that the overall loudness and the mid tones on the Slim version are way better. Now, I did some research and it turns out that on the last generation Slim versions, the speakers are not that good. So if you're buying a Slim version, it's a little bit of a gamble whether you're gonna get the good speakers or not. But if you buy the Phat version, you're not getting the good speakers nevertheless, guys. Why not actually do a very scientific sound test, guys? What I'm gonna do is I'm going to measure the decibels with my phone, with this app pretty much. I'm going to reset it now and we're going to have a look at the maximum reading over here, guys. So I've got the speakers on the Phat to the max. I'm going to reboot this level over here, and as I press the X button over here, I'm going to reset this one and we're going to see the measurements, guys. So are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's enough for this one. Let's have a look at the measurements over here. 77 decibels, guys. So let's do the very same thing with the Slim version as well, guys, to see what we're gonna get. Speakers to the max. Restart level. Okay, I'm going to restart this one as well. Okay, I think that's enough for this one. How much did we get? We got 80. And just to double check, let me put them together side by side so you can hear them one more time over here. So, considering that both consoles are pretty much the same price, my personal choice goes to the PlayStation Vita Phat over here, guys. Simply because the build quality is a little bit more premium and it feels nicer in the hand, no matter how trivial that sounds. That is important when, well, you're gonna be holding this thing, you know, every time you play. So it's important to feel nice in your hand. And always that's always the case with the Sony consoles. The second generation, the slimmer version, is a trimmed down version, and especially for that matter, I mean, I've got the PlayStation 4 Slim, it's locked in my cabinet over here. I don't see it, I just play the games, I don't particularly care. But with this one, guys, my money are on the Phat version. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to Vlogging Project, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Adios.